In a small village surrounded by a dense forest, there lived a little girl known as Little Red Riding Hood. She got this name because she always wore a beautiful red hood that her beloved grandmother had given her. Little Red Riding Hood was a sweet and cheerful girl, loved by everyone. One day, her mother asked her to visit her grandmother, who lived in a distant cottage deep within the forest. Grandma was sick and needed some food and medicine, so her mom prepared a basket filled with fresh cakes, butter, syrup, and some medicines. Before Little Red Riding Hood left, her mother sternly advised her to stay on the straight path and not talk to strangers, reminding her of the dangers the forest might hide. Little Red Riding Hood set out on her journey through the forest, happily singing and skipping between the trees. As she walked along the path, she noticed a bunch of beautiful wildflowers growing by the roadside. She thought to herself that these flowers would surely brighten her grandma's day, so she decided to pick some to add to her gift. As she was gathering the flowers, a big, scary wolf suddenly appeared before her. The wolf was hungry and was hatching a plan to devour Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf approached her and asked in a soft and friendly voice, "Where are you going, little girl?" Little Red Riding Hood replied innocently, "I am going to visit my grandmother who lives in her cottage deep within the forest. She is sick and my mother sent me to bring her some food and medicine." The wolf asked her where the cottage was, and Little Red Riding Hood told him honestly about its location. The wolf quickly thought of a wicked plan and decided to take advantage of the girl's innocence. While Little Red Riding Hood was busy picking beautiful flowers, the wolf dashed off through the shortcut towards Grandma's cottage. When he arrived at the cottage, he knocked gently on the door. From inside, Grandma heard the sound and asked, "Who is it?" The wolf replied, mimicking Red Riding Hood's voice, "It's me, Grandma. I've come to check on you and bring you some food." Grandma felt happy and asked him to come in. As soon as she opened the door, the wolf pounced on her and swallowed her quickly. Then, he put on her clothes, her glasses, and lay in her bed, waiting for Little Red Riding Hood's arrival. After a short while, having finished picking flowers, Little Red Riding Hood remembered her mother's advice and returned to the road, continuing her journey towards Grandma's cottage. When she arrived, she felt something strange. The cottage was unusually quiet, but she suspected nothing. She knocked gently on the door and said, "Grandma, are you here? I've come to check on you and brought you some food and beautiful flowers." Inside, the wolf heard Red Riding Hood's voice, pretended to be Grandma, and replied in a hoarse voice, "Come in, dear. The door is open." Little Red Riding Hood opened the door and entered the cottage. She noticed that Grandma looked strange, but didn't realize why. She approached the bed and asked, "Grandma, why are your ears so big?" The wolf replied in a hoarse voice, "So I can hear you better, my dear." Then Red Riding Hood asked, "And why are your eyes so big?" The wolf replied, "So I can see you better, my dear." Finally, feeling a bit uneasy, Red Riding Hood asked, "But, Grandma, why are your teeth so big and sharp?" At that moment, the wolf could no longer pretend and jumped out of the bed, shouting loudly, "So I can eat you better," and tried to pounce on her. Once upon a time, there was a brave hunter wandering through the forest near a little cottage. He heard Little Red Riding Hood's screams and rushed towards the cottage. As he entered, he saw the big bad wolf trying to devour Little Red Riding Hood. Acting swiftly, the hunter killed the wolf before he could harm the girl. Then the hunter opened the wolf's belly and found Grandma inside, terrified but still alive. Little Red Riding Hood was immensely grateful to the hunter for saving her and her grandma. After this event, Little Red Riding Hood returned home with her mother and learned a valuable lesson she would never forget. Always follow your parents' advice and not to talk to strangers or stray from the path. She promised herself to always remember that caution is the only way to stay safe. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood became wiser and thought carefully before making any decisions. Grandma and the girl lived in peace, thanking the brave hunter repeatedly for his courage and help.